Thanks so much, Steph. Ontario's medical officer of health first warned us here on BT yesterday that the COVID case count, it was going to be high. Turns out it was the second highest daily case count since the pandemic started. Dr. David Williams telling us on BT yesterday the case count over 800. The tally ended up being 821 new cases. Breaking it down here, Toronto still the virus hotspot with 327 new cases, and that's followed by 136 in Peel, 79 in Ottawa, and 64 in York Region. We have not seen daily numbers this high since October 9th, when 939 cases were reported in Ontario. A COVID outbreak has been declared in the ER at a busy major downtown hospital. We're going to take you to a live look at St. Mikes Hospital. We'll bring you that live look in just a little bit. 5 staffers, I should say, tested positive for this virus. No patient infections have been reported. Something important to note, though, the emergency room and hospital, it remains open for those who need it. An outbreak is declared when 2 COVID cases are reported within a 14-day period. Now, St. Joseph's is also dealing with COVID-19 outbreaks in 4 of its units. The hospital and the AR, they are open for anyone that needs it. For now, all scheduled appointments, surgeries, and procedures are going ahead as usual. Now, when it comes to testing, the province's capacity is close to 50,000. Keep this in mind. Only 24,000 were completed yesterday. The Premier's saying this is because people aren't coming in.
Right now, we can't force people to come in for a test. No matter if it's in North Rexdale or up in Northwest Toronto where we're seeing some issues, we're encouraging people to get there. We're putting pop-up testing centers, be it in Brampton or other areas. If you're showing symptoms, please get tested.
Now, that is a big change from scenes like this just 3 weeks ago when assessment centers overwhelmed with these long lineups, causing a backlog of tests that ballooned to 90,000 at one point. But after testing changed to appointment only, they booked up days in advance, and that seemed to have improved with same-day appointments now available at several hospitals. Okay, a warning from the Ontario Long-Term Care Association that homes for seniors won't be able to get insurance to keep operating. The association says the system is in a precarious situation, which could displace the majority of residents because insurance companies are eliminating liability protection for communicable diseases. The majority of policies are facing renewal in December, and advocates sounding the alarm.
If they can't cover for infectious spread like flu, like pneumonia, legionnaires, all of the coronaviruses, including coronavirus 19, they really are not allowed to operate.
The Ford government introduced legislation yesterday that would prevent people from being sued for COVID-related cases as long as they acted in good faith. That could potentially include the government, politicians, and long-term care homes, some of which are currently facing class action lawsuits. Coming up at 8 o'clock, we're going to be joined by CityNews political specialist Cynthia Mulligan to talk about these ongoing issues. StatsCan is set to release September's inflation rate later this morning, with many not expecting much of a jump either way. Now, in both July and August, the rate ticked up ever so slightly, 0.1% each month. Experts think we may see a slight increase, but they expect it to be less than a half percentage point. The Bank of Canada intends to keep its key policy interest rate at 0.25%. Happening today, the House of Commons will be voting over forming a special anti-corruption committee to investigate the Liberals' We scandal. Prime Minister Trudeau is calling it a confidence vote that could trigger a federal election. Have a listen.
It will be up to parliamentarians and the opposition to decide whether they want to make this minority parliament work or whether they've lost confidence in this government's ability to manage this pandemic.
After piles on piles of delay and political games. And now the Liberals are threatening an election in the middle of a pandemic to avoid any further scrutiny.
Okay, so let's break this down. The motion would give the committee powers to call on witnesses and demand documents relating to the Liberals' now canceled deal with We Charity, an organization that paid Trudeau's family members hundreds of thousands in speaking fees. The Liberals have filibustered finance and ethics committee hearings trying to investigate the deal. The NDP and Bloc agree that a committee should be formed, but don't believe it should be positioned as a test of confidence. So we'll continue to follow this here throughout the morning. And federal ministers are also being called to step in with more support for Indigenous fishermen in Nova Scotia, whose lobster pounds have been raided during ongoing disputes over harvesting rights.